Hello viewers, today we will learn about the linen fiber and its properties and why consumers prefer these linen fabrics. Linen is a bast fiber taken from the stem of a flax plant of species Lignum statissimum. It is one of the fibers known to early civilization, and it has been estimated that the flax plant was cultivated at least over 5 millennia. The wall paintings of Egypt depict actually the processing of this fiber, the spinning and weaving of these linen fiber into very fine fabrics. There are evidences that linen plant was cultivated for its fine fiber around 3000 BC, and very fine fabrics have been made by the people at that time of around 540 yarns in 1 inch, and thus very fine fabrics used to be made, which is impossible today even with the advancement of weaving. The very fine fabrics were made during that time, and these were used for wrapping around the mummies of the ancient Egypt pharaohs. Actually, this fiber was regarded as a very fine and cool fiber, and Egyptians and Romans found it as one of the best commodity that can be exported or imported from their country or into their country. Actually, it was first cultivated in Middle East, and then it has been introduced into the Europe by the Finnish traders. And the Western Europe now is known for producing very fine quality of linen, and also China is one of the countries which produce good quality of linen today, and Ireland, Italy and Belgium are the countries which also produce substantial amount of linen. Belgium is known for producing very fine quality of linen, and Ireland is known for the craftsmanship in linen fiber. Cultivation of flax. Flax is being cultivated for the purpose of making the fiber or the seed. If it is cultivated for the purpose of seed, then the plant is left till it becomes brown, seeds mature in the plant. If it is cultivated for the purpose of getting the fine fiber, then it will be harvested before the seeds are matured, so that we will be able to get very fine fiber from it. The ideal conditions for growing of this flax plants are homogeneous land and adequate light and cool and short nights, and also the weather which is warm and humid. Actually, it takes around 100 days to cultivate the flax plant if you take the time from sowing to harvesting. The sowing is done very closely because the plant grows high and there are no branches for this one. So, it is possible to make them closer together, so that there will be high yield in production. And these plants will grow 3 to 4 feet. The fibers in this particular plant, they are grown from the top till the roots, and they encircle the woody portion of the stem, and they are there below the cuticle. And so, they extend from top to bottom, and so while harvesting, the plant should be pulled rather than cutting, so that we will be able to save the whole length of the fiber. If it is cut, the fiber's length will be shortened, and so the fine fiber may not be good enough to produce very quality fabrics. Usually when the plant grows and the blossoms appear on the material, and then they turn into the seeds, and before they ripen, actually the plants are being harvested either by pulling them by hand or by using mechanical pullers. The seeds of the plant are combed away by a process called rippling. In processing of the fiber, once the plants are harvested, they are sent for retting. And retting is a process of separation of the fiber from the hard stem by the action of the bacteria, and it can be done either by spreading the stems on fields, so that the dew will act upon these things and then try to separate the fiber from the woody stems, or it can be done with water, maybe in a stagnant water in a tank or in a pond or in a river, and the retting can take place, and depending upon the effectiveness of the process, it may take from few days to few weeks. So, after retting, the whole fiber bundle should be separated from the woody stem and also the kind of bark that is present, the retted bark, and so it should be removed, and it is removed by a process called as scutching. So, scutching will separate it from the woody stem and also the retted bark. It is a physical mechanical process that remove all this particular material from the fibers, and the fibers are separated. After scutching, the fibers again pass through another operation called as hackling, and this is equal to a combing in cotton. The fiber bundles, which are coarse in nature, they are made to become parallel to each other by hackling, and in which progressive pins, finer pins will remove any impurities that are present and also separate the fibers from each other and make them parallel to each other. After hackling, this will become ready to get spun just like the cotton fiber, and it is made in the form of a sliver, and then the sliver is drawn in order to become thinner and thinner, and then later it is spun by insertion of the twist into the fiber bundles. And here there are two types of spinning here. It can be spun in a dry condition, or it can be wet spun, and generally wet spun yarns are more qualitative when compared to dry spun materials, because the fiber as such is not that flexible, it is little stiff, and so in wet condition this flexibility is improved, and thus the wet spun yarns are more qualitative when compared to dry spun yarns. During this combing or hackling process, the shorter fibers are removed, they are called as a toe, and longer fibers remain in the fiber array, so that it can be taken to spinning as such. The longer fibers are called lin fibers and shorter fibers are called toe fibers. Coming to the properties of the flax fiber. Coming to the composition and structure of the linen fiber. Linen fiber is a multicellular fiber, unlike cotton. Cotton is a unicellular, but this is a multicellular fiber, and in each section we find around 10 to 40 cells, which are called ultimate cells, and these cells are held together with a gummy substance like something like a pectin, and which makes them to be together. So, the length of the fiber may range from 4 to 12 inches, and the diameter may be around 40 to 80 microns. That means that it is around 4 times more than the cotton fiber. It is not as fine as cotton. Under microscope, the fibers look straight with a regular width, and also having like lines or the striations. But there are characteristics nodes also that are present on these fibers, and which are formed regularity of the width. During the growth of the fiber, and the width of the fiber will become irregular, and so wherever there is a difference in the width, it is seen in the form of a node in linen fibers, and this is the characteristic of this linen fiber. And when the cross section is seen, the cells which are seen in many in one fiber, they are polygonal in shape, and also the presence of lumen is seen, and there is a thick cell wall outside. And in the matured fibers, the lumen is reduced, and whereas in case of immature fibers, the lumen is having high volume, and thus we can identify whether matured or immature fibers. Linen fibers are usually light in color or lighter or ivory gray in color, and they have medium to high luster, and the luster is better than, of course, cotton. It is composed of cellulose, as we know, and also the crystallinity and the degree of polymerization is little more than cotton fiber, and thus the fiber is more stronger, and usually it contains 65 to 70% of pure cellulose and 20 to 25% of pectin and other plant substances. Coming to the physical properties of the linen fiber, when we take the strength of the fiber, linen fiber is one of the strong natural fibers or also cellulosic fibers, and it is stronger when compared to cotton fiber. It has around 5.5 to 6.5 grams per denier, and so we can make durable fabrics out of this linen fiber. And also, just like cotton, it can regain strength, more strength when wet. That means around 20% higher strength is seen when wet, and so this can be regarded as one of the best fibers even for during washing and other things. So, there is no problem for the consumer to use these fibers. Coming to the elongation and elasticity of the fibers, since it is a crystalline fiber and the degree of polymerization is also high, and you find that the elasticity is little reduced. You can find that the elasticity is around 2.7 to 3.3% in a dry fiber. The elastic recovery is also little less. At 2% elongation, we find that it is having a recovery of 65%. But this again, the recovery comes down once the elongation is higher, and so wrinkles or creases are formed on the fabric, and unless the fabric is finished for guarding against these wrinkles, the consumer needs to iron this fabric soon after the washing or the use. Coming to the resiliency of the fiber, the resiliency of the fiber is poor, and so we have to iron these materials after wearing. The creases and other things will appear, and so we need to give finishes for taking care of the creasing and also wrinkling of the fabric. Coming to the specific gravity or the density of the fiber, we find that it is having around 1.5 grams per cubic centimeter, and so just like other cellulosics, they are heavy, but it is possible to produce the fabrics having lighter weight and also heavy fabrics, and it can be done by varying the size of the yarn and also the fabric construction. Then coming to the absorbency of the fiber, we find that unlike cotton, linen fiber has very good absorbency, that is around 12% moisture again is there in linen fiber. Thus, it is regarded as one of the very cool fibers, and it can be used in summer without any problem. Next is the dimensional stability of the fiber, and we find that as such linen is stable and it does not shrink or stretch in the normal conditions. But in the fabric there will be a relaxation shrinkage due to the stresses that it undergo during the process of spinning and weaving, and so maybe some kinds of relaxation shrinkage may be present, which can be addressed through finishing. Coming to the abrasion resistance of the fabric, and just like other cellulosics, it is having medium resistance to abrasion, but it is always better than cotton because of its higher crystallization. Coming to the thermal properties of the linen fiber, linen is a very good conductor of heat, and its conductivity is a little higher than the cotton fiber. It absorbs the sweat easily and readily, and also dries quickly, and thus it can keep up the consumer very comfortably during wear. The fiber can withstand high temperatures when compared to other cellulosic fibers. Actually, a dry fiber can be exposed to around 150 degrees centigrades for prolonged time. Nothing will happen to the fiber. But the safe temperature for this fiber is around 280 degrees centigrade, but prolonged exposure to very high temperatures more than 300 degrees centigrade may deteriorate the fiber. Otherwise, in normal conditions, linen fiber keeps up very well and nothing happens to the fiber or the fabric. Like the other cellulosic fibers, the fiber will not melt, but scorches at higher temperatures. When exposed to the fire, when it is taken near the fire, linen fiber takes up the fire quickly and also burns quickly, and once it is withdrawn and it continues to burn because it is a cellulosic fiber, and it has an afterglow because all the cellulosic fibers can support the combustion. It may leave a little ash, and also it gives the paper burnt smell while burning. Coming to the chemical properties of linen fiber, we find that the resistance against alkalis is very high in linen fiber. Any kind of alkali reagents can be used without any problem on linen fiber. Coming to the effect of acids, like cotton, we find that it is sensitive to some of the acids, and usually dilute acids at room temperatures will not damage or deteriorate the fiber, but concentrated acids, especially mineral acids, and also hot dilute acids will damage the fiber, and so they should not be exposed to the acids at high temperatures, and also we should avoid the acidic reagents having high power. Then coming to the solvents, linen fiber is resistant to many solvents, and especially the solvents that are being used in laundry as well as in dry cleaning of the fibers. Coming to the effect of bleaches, we find linen is resistant to many bleaches, especially chlorine and perborate bleaches, and so there is no problem in using of these things for finishing of the fiber. But as such, linen fiber is light in color, and thus it may not require that much bleaching that is required for the other fibers. Coming to the miscellaneous properties, like effect of sunlight, prolonged exposure of these fabrics in sunlight may deteriorate the fabric, but it is not a serious problem, and so these fabrics are mainly used for draperies and also the textiles used outside the home. Then coming to the effect of mildew, dry linen fabric or fiber is highly resistant to the formation of the molds on the fabric, but if it is left in a moist condition for a prolonged time, maybe mildew will appear on the material. Otherwise, there is no problem with mildew as far as linen fabrics are concerned. Coming to the effect of moths, linen fiber is resistant to all kinds of moths, but silverfish may damage by eating away the cellulose. And then when we store the fiber for a long period, the age factor will not be a problem in case of linen, and we see that linen, table linen and bed linen and all are folded and left for a longer periods without any damage, and so age may not have that much deteriorating effect on the fiber. Perspiration has no effect on the linen fiber, but sometimes the chemicals and other dyes and other things used in finishing may get damaged or may get faded by exposure to perspiration. Otherwise, the fiber is not damaged or deteriorated with perspiration. Coming to the finishes that are given to linen fiber, and we find that the fibers are long and also stronger when compared to cotton fiber. So, it does not require actually many finishes, but routine finishes are to be given. Something like scouring is done and desizing is done, and also bleaching is done for these fibers as a preparatory steps, and also as final steps calendaring and tentering are done in order to smoothen the fabric as well as to bring it to desirable dimensions. Some special purpose finishes are also given to these fabrics, like sanforization. This is given to take away the relaxation shrinkage from the fabrics, and also sometimes it may be given wash and wear and also durable press finishes in order to control the formation of the creases on the fabric as well as the shape retention qualities to the fabric. Sometimes it is also beetled, that means it is beaten in order to make a fluffy as well as soft fiber and to look like a cotton, because it does not have much flexibility and requires to be flexible, and so these finishes may be sometimes given to this one. And also one more special purpose finishes given to particular linen fiber is the flame proofing. This is protection against the fire, because the fabric is mainly used for the bed sheets and especially for children's bed sheets and all. So, it requires flame proofing, and so that finish is commonly given to bedspreads and other fabrics which are used near to the fire. Water repellent finishes are also given if the fabric has to be used near the bathtubs and also for the rainwear. Coming to the preferences of the consumer for linen fabrics. Why consumers actually prefer these linen fabrics? Linen fabrics are versatile in nature because they are longer fibers and also they are stronger fibers. It is possible to produce light fabrics, sheer fabrics or medium weight fabrics or heavy fabrics, and which are used for different purposes. The words like bed linen and table linen indicate that this fabric is an ideal fabric that has been used from centuries for home textiles and also for making of very fine, very neat looking apparels. Shirts made out of linen are better when compared to cotton, because linen fiber is little stiffer when compared to cotton, and even if the starching is not done for these fabrics, the fabrics look very fine and it gives body to the wearer. Another aspect of linen fabric is that it is very comfortable to wear. It is regarded as one of the very cool fabrics to be worn during summer, because it absorbs the sweat very well and also it dries quickly, and thus the wearer will not feel stuffy even in warm and humid atmosphere. And so, this is known for a popular summer wear in all countries, especially countries like India, which is a tropical in nature. Another aspect of the fiber is its durability. The fiber is strong, and it can be made into very strong fabrics also through variation in the yarn structure and also the fabric construction. So, we can make really good fabrics out of this one, and even after washing and all, it can be very durable. And then coming to the ease care properties of the fiber, and the fiber is very good when compared to cotton, just because it will not take up the soil readily. So, these fabrics will not become soiled very easily, and that is why consumers also prefer this particular material. And even during the washing, the linen fabrics can become stronger when wet, and so any kind of friction is possible on this material, and it can be washed in the machine, and they can undergo the spin cycles and any kind of friction even with the hand tools. as linen is little stiffer and it does not require much starching, and so heavy starching needs to be avoided in these materials. It is starched heavily, then there is a danger of tearing of the fabrics. One of the concerns for the consumer about the linen fabric seeds is price. Earlier years, in the last century especially, we used to produce lot of linen here, used to be cultivated for the purpose of the fiber. Now we are importing it from the other countries, and that is why the price of the linen fiber has gone high. A small percentage of it is used in blends like cotton polyester or rayon polyester, and if 100% linen fabrics are required, the price is little higher, and definitely it is beyond the reach of the common man. So, linen is a natural cellulosic fiber which is a strong fiber and which is a cool fiber and which is a absorbent fiber, and so with all these good qualities in the fiber, and we can definitely use it, and consumers prefer this fabric, and it also gives us an idea that it should be cultivated more in India, so that the price of the fabric comes down and it comes to within the reach of the common man.